Hey everyone, this is a review of Ryobi's 18-volt 1 Plus cordless caulking and adhesive gun. It's model number P310G. I'm going to go over features this thing has, advantages it has over a manual caulk gun like this one, and then what I like about it and what I don't like about it. So here's the tool up close. It's a pretty simple design. The 18-volt battery goes down here in the bottom. It takes any 1 Plus 18-volt Ryobi battery. On the front, you've got a trigger. This is constant speed, so it's just on or off. And it's got a trigger lock so you don't make a huge mess if you forget about it. And bump the trigger. So you can lock this and it won't dispense anything, and then you can do this and you can pull the trigger again. Up top is your speed adjustment dial, and you really don't need a variable speed trigger because this is the best way to do it. This will give you a nice consistent bead every time you're laying something down because it's a constant speed. The carriage here holds any 10-ounce tube of caulk or adhesive, and your plunger just pushes on the back of it like any standard caulk gun. It's got a little bit of wiggle to it so it can self-adjust and make sure it's centered. And then you've got a rack and pinion style advancement push rod here and a big old planetary gearbox stacked up together in here to give you the 500 pounds of push force. That's really about it. You can grab this on the back and pull, and then load your adhesive or caulk. Just drop it in, and first you've got to make sure you can use the puncture tool. If your tube has a seal inside, make sure you pop that first. So just push it down and get the foil. It's usually a foil seal in here, and make sure you break that first. And drop it in. You can manually push this in until it's loaded, and you're ready to go. The speed settings on this thing are great. I almost always keep it on the lowest setting because it's still pretty fast at that setting. So here's just an example. Here's the slowest speed. And here's the fast speed. One really great feature about this gun is when you're done dispensing, it will not keep dripping. So we'll go ahead and dispense just a little bit. Takes it a little time to get started sometimes. All right, and we'll stop. And you can see no more is coming out. So it backs that motor off just a little bit, and backs the push rod off just a little bit, and it doesn't drip. So advantages this thing has over a manual caulk dispenser like this one is it's obviously powered. You're not going to have your forearm cramping up after going through a few tubes of caulk. You're also going to get a much smoother and more consistent bead when you're using this because it's got a adjustment dial for the speed right here, and you don't have to worry about squeezing and feathering that trigger and getting it just right. With a manual caulk gun, you just go at the same speed across wherever you're applying, and that's it. You get a perfect bead the whole way across. I've done entire 12-foot trim boards in one pass with this thing and barely needed to smooth it at all. Runtime on this thing is absolutely fantastic. Ryobi claims 200 10-ounce tubes of adhesive or caulk on one battery, and now I'm assuming that is a 4 amp hour battery. I only ever use this with the 2 amp hour battery for weight savings, and I've never run out of a charge on a single project. So I did 7 tubes of silicone caulk on my old house, sealing all the windows before we moved. And it did awesome for that, and I still had charge left over, plenty of charge left over on a 2 amp hour battery. So there are a few things about this gun that I don't like. For one, it's pretty bulky. The outside of it, it's got a big gearbox, stacked gearbox in here, and it's just a lot harder to fit into a small area than a manual caulk gun. So keep that in mind. You might also want a manual one around still. You know, these things are like $5. But it's good to have this option if you have to get into somewhere tight still. Another thing I don't like about it is it's really loose retention on the seal puncture tool. And I've had it come off quite a few times and just kind of flop around while I'm using the gun. So I wish they had done a better job with that. Another thing I don't like about this gun is using it on a ladder. There's really no easy way to hang it. There's no ladder hook, rafter hook, or anything like that. And you can't hang it by this because it just comes all the way out. With a manual gun, you can advance it and then you can hang it by the back. And unless you push this tab, it's not going to pull all the way back. So That's just another thing in mind. If you're doing this on a ladder, it's a little bit unwieldy because you've got to either lay it across the top of the ladder or figure out some other way to hold on to it. You can't hang it by the back. Now, I have seen some complaints online about the tube of caulk exploding out the back of this, and that actually happened to me with one of the silicone tubes that I was using, and I don't know if it was operator error or not. I definitely punctured the seal, so that wasn't it, but I did end up with adhesive blowing out or caulk blowing out all over the back of this, and it was a nightmare to clean out of this geared advancing rod. So just keep in mind, if you feel the gun advancing and nothing's coming out the front, stop immediately because you're probably making a huge mess in the back end of this. It's only happened to me once, it hasn't happened again, so I'm willing to chalk it up to operator error, but I'm not going to rule out that it won't happen to you. Price point on this is absolutely fantastic. It's $40 bare tool. That means it doesn't come with a battery and charger, but if you're already in the Ryobi 18-volt platform, this thing is a no-brainer if you ever have to do a room full of baseboard or anything on that scale or larger. This is going to be a total time saver and forearm saver. So go ahead and pick it up. You'll be glad you did. So let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below, and once again, don't forget to subscribe.